Have you ever seen someone try so hard to look like the good guy? It actually makes them look worse? That's the story of Meghan Markle right now. This isn't just another piece of royal gossip. Nope, this is about the real Meghan Markle. The version people see when the cameras are off, when the red carpet's rolled up, and the spotlight is gone. And thanks to a recent TikTok video that went viral for all the wrong reasons, the mask is slipping. Flight crews, former co-workers, even palace insiders, they're finally speaking up. And what they're saying? Let's just say it might change the way you see Meghan forever. So buckle up, because this story gets wild, and you're gonna want to hear every last detail. It all began with a video that looked like pure, wholesome internet gold. A cheerful American Airlines flight attendant beams into her phone camera, gushing about none other than Meghan Markle. She goes on and on, calling her sweet, beautiful, humble, even referring to her as the Queen. And as if that wasn't enough, she holds up a handwritten note from Meghan herself, thanking the crew for their service. It was polished, emotional, viral-worthy, and it did go viral. Fast, TikTok ate it up. Comments flooded in praising Meghan for being kind and gracious. People who had long criticized her suddenly felt a twinge of guilt. Maybe she was misunderstood. Maybe the tabloids had it wrong. Maybe Meghan really was just trying to be a decent human being in a very public spotlight. But something about that video didn't sit right. Not with everyone. The people who had actually worked with Meghan, the ones who've served her in the skies, walked her down red carpets, or stood just off camera while she posed for the press, they weren't smiling. They were stunned. Why? They'd seen a completely different Meghan, one that didn't match the TikTok fairy tale. In fact, one veteran crew member who saw the video said it made their skin crawl because it was so obviously scripted. And that's where the cracks in the fantasy began to show. Not just because it felt like over-the-top fan service. Not just because it portrayed Meghan as some floating angel in a sea of clouds, but because the video broke serious airline protocol, sharing personal details about a high-profile passenger, flashing a handwritten note on camera, speaking her name, and broadcasting her presence online. That's not just unprofessional, it's a potential career ender. Airline staff are trained to follow strict privacy policies, especially when it comes to celebrities or VIP passengers. It's drilled into them. No selfies, no stories, no exceptions. So the fact that this attendant felt comfortable enough to film, name drop, and show off a private note from Meghan raised eyebrows. A lot of them. People started asking questions. Was this spontaneous? Or was it planned? Coordinated? Maybe even approved? And that's when the theory started gaining traction, that this wasn't just a sweet thank you video. It was a strategic PR move, a curated social media moment carefully crafted to go viral. A way for Meghan to reboot her public image and drown out the noise of her growing list of controversies. And look, let's be honest. If you were facing months of negative headlines, lawsuits, family feuds, and rumors of behind-the-scenes tantrums, you might try to distract the public too. Meghan has proven she's not above spinning the narrative. And this TikTok? It had all the hallmarks of a Meghan Markle redemption playbook moment. But here's the twist. Instead of helping her image, it did the opposite. Because the moment that video blew up, people who've worked behind the curtain, on planes, on film sets, inside palace walls, started talking, quietly at first, then louder, and they were saying the exact same thing. That's not the Meghan we know. Now, let's zoom in on one particular moment that changed everything. The infamous flight to South Africa. We're not talking tabloid speculation or secondhand gossip here. This came directly from a senior British Airways flight attendant, a veteran in the industry, someone who has served royalty, celebrities, and high-level diplomats for years. Someone who knows the difference between a difficult passenger and a truly disturbing experience. This flight was supposed to be routine. Meghan, Harry, and baby Archie were on board, heading overseas on a high-profile royal tour. Everything should have been by the book, but what this flight attendant witnessed, it wasn't just odd, it was heartbreaking. Meghan didn't acknowledge Archie once during the entire flight. Not once. Let that sink in. A baby, her baby, was fussy, restless, clearly uncomfortable from the long-haul flight. And yet, Meghan remained completely detached. No cradling, no cooing, no holding his hand or checking on him. Not even a glance. It was the staff and nanny who stepped in, doing everything a mother would normally do. Feeding, calming, rocking him to sleep, changing diapers. Meghan, she reportedly sat back, aloof, scrolling through her phone, sipping a drink, acting as if the child didn't even exist. Now sure, we all have bad days. Parenting on a plane is tough. New moms can be overwhelmed. Jet lag is real. That's what some people thought at first. Maybe it was just fatigue, maybe Meghan was exhausted, mentally drained, or even struggling behind the scenes. But that theory didn't hold up. Because according to the flight crew, this wasn't just a one-off moment. It was a consistent pattern. Meghan wasn't distant because she was tired. She was cold, indifferent, emotionally removed. And most unsettling of all, she only woke up when Harry came near. One crew member said it was like watching someone perform motherhood only when the cameras were rolling. The moment Harry walked by, Meghan would smile at Archie, pretend to check on him, even coo softly. But the second Harry walked away, the act dropped like a curtain, and she went right back to ignoring her own child. That's not sleep deprivation. That's not new mom anxiety. That's calculated behavior. Another attendant, who observed from a different cabin section, said they'd never seen such emotional distance from a mother. Not on a commercial flight. Not on a royal one. Not even among celebrities who travel with entire nannies and staff entourages. They said, quote, "It was chilling." We kept looking at each other like, is anyone else seeing this? And here's where it gets worse. That same flight was reportedly one of the last times Meghan and Archie flew together under such public scrutiny. After the backlash started, trickling in from inside sources, Meghan began sharply limiting public access to Archie, claiming she was protecting his privacy. But some insiders now believe it wasn't about privacy at all. It was about control, about managing perception. Because if the world saw the real dynamic between Meghan and her child, the lack of warmth, the awkward distance, the carefully curated supermom image could collapse in an instant. And for someone as image-conscious as Meghan Markle, that kind of exposure is a nightmare. This flight, this single event, has become one of the most whispered-about moments among royal staff, airline crew, and people close to the Sussex Circle. Not because of some tabloid headline, but because it revealed something real. Not the filters, not the speeches, not the PR machines, just silence. From a mother to her son, and the people who witnessed it, they haven't forgotten. Here's where things get really strange. Multiple sources, from flight attendants to former co-workers, say Meghan acts like a completely different person when Prince Harry is nearby. When he's around, she's polite, smiles, even plays the loving wife and doting mother. But when he steps out of earshot, boom, her whole vibe changes. The warmth disappears. Her tone goes cold. Her behavior, downright dismissive. One flight attendant described it like flipping a switch. Another said it was like serving two different people in the same body. It's not nerves, it's calculated. Let's be clear. This isn't a new Meghan. People who worked with her back during her Suits days, and even earlier, say the red flag energy was already there. One crew member from a small indie film she worked on remembers her demanding business class flights on budget airlines. When she was told no, she exploded. She even tried to get a private jet for a 2-hour flight, on a film where the entire budget barely covered bottled water. And again, this wasn't post-royalty Meghan. This was before Harry, before fame, before palaces. Back then, she was already dropping, "Do you know who I am?" energy like she was an A-lister. That sense of entitlement, it's not new, it's just grown louder. When American Airlines crews were asked about Meghan, several said she was the worst celebrity they've ever dealt with. Worse than pop stars. Worse than entitled influencers. Worse than the ones who scream about lukewarm, sparkling water. She demanded upgrades she hadn't paid for. She expected first-class treatment while flying economy, and when she didn't get her way, she got mean. Staffer described serving her as walking on eggshells at 40,000 feet. Another said she made them feel invisible, less than human. And remember, these aren't anonymous online trolls. These are professionals trained to handle difficult passengers. Perhaps the most chilling detail of all? One airline employee said Meghan only said thank you when Prince Harry was standing nearby. It wasn't about being busy. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was a performance. When someone can only express basic human decency when they're being watched, that's not manners. That's manipulation. And that's what bothered people the most. Not just the entitlement, but the sense that kindness was something Meghan turned on and off like a spotlight. Why haven't more people come forward? 2 words: legal fortress. Between NDAs, contracts, and fear of backlash, most of the people who've seen the real Meghan can't speak openly. Airline staff, film crews, palace aides, all gagged by confidentiality agreements. So when that TikTok painted her as Mother Teresa in heels, it wasn't just irritating. It was a slap in the face to everyone forced to stay silent while they lived through the exact opposite. But eventually, the truth leaks. Quietly at first, then louder, and now even her own family seems to be drifting. We know her father and half-siblings are already estranged, but now there are signs her mother Doria is pulling back too. At a Beyoncé concert recently, Doria attended solo. No Meghan in sight, no selfies, no glam, just silence. And when Meghan later admitted on her podcast that she was annoyed, Doria didn't tell her she was going. The tone said it all. It wasn't love, it wasn't curiosity, it was control slipping. Then there's Harry. By all accounts, he's fading in this relationship. Once the charismatic royal rebel, now he's the guy opening doors while Meghan poses for the cameras. Sources close to the couple say Harry only sees the version of Meghan she wants him to see. The filtered, curated, PR-perfect version, and the sad reality. The more Meghan builds her brand, the more Harry seems to disappear behind it. At the end of the day, this isn't about tabloids, outfits, or who's wearing what crown. This is about character, how someone treats others when there's nothing to gain. That's the real test. Meghan may have money, fame, and a global platform, but if she treats people like props in her story, eventually the story turns against her. Because no matter how carefully you script your public image, real people talk. And when they do, the mask always slips. If you made it this far, thank you. Seriously, because these aren't just rumors. They're first-hand accounts from people who lived it. And their stories matter. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe this is just gossip? Or is the real Meghan finally being revealed? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you want more behind-the-scenes truth, not just royal fairy tales. Until next time, stay curious.